Hi, everyone. I have read your personal philosophy papers and posted feedback in the rubric within Blackboard. I would encourage you to go in and read that feedback and touch base with you if you have questions. This was not an easy paper to write. Having to be still and think about your own personal philosophy about a specific topic, especially clinical evaluations. For most of you, if you're not in a professional educator setting, your only reference point for what clinical evaluations were was your own experience. So it probably required you to really think critically about what your own experience was like and what ways you think that it could have been improved or maybe done more effectively. I think your textbooks do a great job of talking about the evaluation. Many of you use them very effectively. I would encourage you to go back in again and read the feedback. If you were not successful on this assignment or there were some hiccups, I want you to go back in and read your paper and ask yourself, how would I summarize my personal philosophy related to clinical evaluations? Can you do that succinctly in 2-3 sentences? Can you say, this is my philosophy with clinical evaluations? And did you articulate that in your paper? Sometimes we get to where we're writing about a topic and we become focused on the concept like clinical evaluations and forget the actual purpose of this paper was to talk about a philosophical statement. How will your thoughts, values, ideas about the topic guide your practice? So that was really the goal of this assignment. And again, this is a graduate level assignment. So this was a struggle for you. I want you to go back in and read your paper, touch base with me with comments or questions, and let's see if we can problem solve a different approach with another assignment in the future. I think your classmate, Emily, did a beautiful job really explaining the importance of clinical evaluation. Emily wrote that my fundamental goal is to honor and glorify the Lord as I evaluate students in my calling as a nurse educator. A colleague of mine once said to me, "You have direct access to the future of nursing." That short quote really stuck with me. This is not just my career, but an opportunity to make a difference in what the future of nursing will look like. Ever since she said that, I have a different perspective on my teaching strategies in clinical. I want you to really think about where you felt the biggest impact in your practice when you were in nursing school. Most of us will agree that it occurred in the clinical setting. So the importance of providing good clinical, formative, and summative feedback in the clinical setting is so important. And that we do that formally and informally. That when our students go into a patient's room and they do a great job doing an assessment, we tell them how fantastic they were. When they come out and they've struggled with doing an assessment point, we coach them, we give them skills, we let them practice, and we send them back in to do it again. How we steward these fragile little nursing students is so important to their success. So I really appreciated Emily's insight into always being aware that this really is the future of nursing when we have these students in our clinical site and we're doing clinical evaluations. So I appreciate that insight. When we move into next week, your assignment next week asks you, I think it's your discussion board, that has you discussing your thoughts about how you would handle if you realized after you've deployed a test that you had made a mistake in test writing. Basically, I think the prompt tells you that you forgot to include the correct answer. I personally had the exact opposite issue. Many years ago when I was first teaching, I was team teaching with someone that co-wrote a test with me. Well, I finished my part and I handed it off to my co-teacher who finished writing their part. The person submitted it to me, and I assumed that that person had proofed their part, so I sent it off to be printed and had it neatly collated and stapled, and we brought it to class and we handed it out to everyone. And in about 30 minutes, we had a student come up and say, "Are you aware that the answers to all 5 of your matching questions are on the test?" What had happened was my colleague had created a key So it had all the right answers marked. And when he went in to edit the test for final revision, he forgot to remove the matching answers. So there we were in the middle of a class with about 35 students, and 5 of our 50 questions had the answers right there in the test booklet. So we both learned lots of lessons. Mine was that I needed to really support my partner and help proofread their work in a similar fashion that they could have verified that my work had been done properly, and that we really together went through the test. So again, I think, as my weekly announcement said this week, there is nothing more humbling than having to stand in front of students and say, oops, my bad, I made a mistake, and then figure out what the equitable and fair way to handle that is for the students. And in that situation, we gave everybody the 5 points on the test, or actually worked out to be 10 points. We were both new educators. 8 years later, I wouldn't do that again. I would have made it a 45-question test. But at the time, I was so mortified, we went ahead and gave them free points. So not best practice, but it's human, and we're all going to make mistakes. So as you write your discussion boards, I want you to really be real about it and talk about how you'd handle it, and even talk about how you consider you may feel about it. You guys are going to finish up week 7 this week, week 8 next, and then you all will be on to your next semester. Know that as you move forward, if you have questions or concerns through the rest of the course, that I'm interested in your feedback, and I'm interested in having a conversation with you about any concerns you have. Know that I'm here. I hope you guys are having a great week. I'll look forward to talking to you or hearing from you. Take care.